What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Week 6 edition of Fantasy Factor. And we would like to start by acknowledging how brutally wrong we were about the rise and fall picks last week. The Steelers absolutely embarrassed the Browns this week, and the Bucs did the same to the Packers. I'm happy about the Bucs, to be honest, because I like to see Brady and Gronk do well, even if it's not on the Pats. But I'm intrigued to hear what your thoughts were on the Steelers and Browns game.
Well, firstly, I have to admit just how wrong I was about the result of the Browns-Steelers game. I thought the Browns would come out firing through Kareem Hunt, Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, but that's obviously not what happened. And I was not expecting how dominant the Steelers defense would be. Even though Baker wasn't 100%, I expected better. And Baker even got benched to Case Keenum. That's not something you like to see, but enough about the Browns, Matt. Let's tell me who surprised you in Week 6.
All right, this may sound weird for some people, but my surprise player of the week was Julio Jones. I did not expect him to have the game that he did. He barely practiced all week. He's been dealing with a hamstring injury for over a month now. But apparently Minnesota didn't see that performance coming either. He had an easy 137 yards on 8 receptions and 2 touchdowns. That's 33.7 PPR points. Had him on my bench. Ended up losing. That was great. But what about you? Who's your surprise player?
So for me, my surprise player of the week was none other than Broncos kicker Brandon McManus. I'm sure many of you Patriots fans are now very familiar with McManus, as he scored every single one of Denver's 18 points last week. He went for 6 field goals, including 2 that were over 50 yards. And for fantasy-wise, he had 24 fantasy points, which I've never seen from a kicker.
Yeah, that was great as a Patriots fan to see that.
Now let's go into the top 10 fantasy scorers of Week 6. First off, we have Derrick Henry, 40.4 points. Last year's rushing king showed up big against the Texans, even getting the winning touchdown in overtime. Then we have Justin Jefferson, the rookie out of LSU, scoring 39.6 points, showing that he's ready for some big league action. Second huge game in 4 weeks. He's number 7 among all wide receivers right now. And then we got Julio Jones at 33.7 points. As Matt said, maybe it was a surprise, maybe not. But it's Julio being Julio, and obviously Minnesota was not expecting that performance. Then we have Deshaun Watson, 32 points. He had an amazing game against the undefeated Titans. Continues to show how good he is, regardless of the receivers he has. And then we got Matt Ryan, 31.6. With both Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones having great games, the man throwing in the ball also did too. And some say his fantasy stock is rising.
Coming up at number 6, we have Ryan Tannehill, 29.6. I believe it was your ad pick last week, so if you haven't added him yet, add him now because he doesn't show any signs of slowing down. Next, we have Carson Wentz, another quarterback, the QB for the Eagles, ignoring any obstacles and getting points regardless of how many wide receivers are injured on his team. Kyler Murray showing some Russell Wilson in him. Another QB in the top 10. Dismantled an already shaky Dallas defense, got 29.4 points. I believe he'll get an MVP award in the next 5 years.
Bold prediction.
Kenyon Drake, 28.4 points. Kenyon Drake has been having a pretty blah season at Arizona so far, but I think some ears pricked up after that performance. Next we have Lamar Jackson, 28.2 points. Not putting up as many points as he had last year, but he's still got some good highlight reels and some good games, even in his off weeks.
And so now that the top 10 is out of the way, let's move to rise and fall. Not many undefeated teams left, so it should be interesting. First off, we have 2 of the undefeated teams playing each other, Steelers versus Titans. Matt, who do you have winning this one?
I think the Titans will ultimately prevail, but judging off last week's picks, who knows? I think the Titans are a better team overall. I think they have Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown. Ryan Tannehill, like I said, is going absolutely off this season. But I think they have them beating the Steelers' strong defense by a field goal.
Ooh. See, honestly, I don't know how I can possibly go against the Steelers after what they did to the Browns last week. Steelers proved they are very good against the run, and while Tannehill has been playing at a career high level, the run game is what sets the Titans apart, and I don't see him really winning without the run game. On the other hand, the Steelers' defense and offense really dominant. Offensive-wise, Chase Claypool, he's been dubbed Mapletron because he's from Canada. He resembles Megatron, Calvin Johnson, but I have the Steelers in a close one.
The third of the last 3 undefeated teams are 5-0 Seattle Seahawks, who travel to Glendale, Arizona, to take on the 4-2 Cardinals. I think this will be an interesting game to watch. I think Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray are pretty similar quarterbacks. They're mobile, accurate, strong, and pretty small for quarterbacks. I think Russell Wilson and the Seahawks will win when it comes down to it. I think it'll come down to coaching. Pete Carroll, he's got a good team. He's a good coach. I think the Seahawks will take the win.
See, I agree, Matt. I also have the Seahawks coming out on top here. I think that Wilson will continue to play at MVP level, and in the end, that'll be too much for the Cardinals. However, I do expect a high-scoring game as both offenses are playing spectacular and at very high levels. But as you said, I think the experience of the Seahawks will be too much for the Cardinals.
All right, now let's do another player or two that we think you should add and drop from your team.
So starting, as I mentioned earlier, Brandon McManus, the kicker for Denver Broncos. He's a must-add right now, and here's why. He proved that he's very accurate and consistent on an injured Broncos roster where they can't really get into the red zone very well. He can get you 3 points from basically anywhere on the opposite side of the field, and I think he's a must-add for your team.
I'd take a look at Rob Gronkowski for my pick. He's been quietly upticking his production as of late, especially just had a breakout game, first touchdown of the season. And also, he's on a couple of my teams. I think T.Y. Hilton, it's time to drop him. I've been waiting long enough. He's a proven wide receiver,
Right.
but I think at this point of the season, it's just not. He's not Philip Rivers' guy.
And then, so we'd like to thank you for continuing to tune in to Fantasy Factor, even if all of our picks aren't always right. But as always, I'm Mike, he's Matt, and we'll see you next time.